So check this out. DDG, the popular YouTuber turned rapper, just hit us with a plot twist. After Hallie Bailey got a temporary protection order against him, he clapped back with his own. Yep, this thing is going both ways now. Let's rewind for a second. Hallie, who's been juggling motherhood and movie shoots, told the court that DDG crossed the line, claiming he got physical with her. She's also trying to make sure their baby boy, Halo, stays in California and doesn't get taken out of state by DDG. But DDG, he fired back real quick. He's asking the judge to stop Hallie from leaving the country with their son while she's off filming her new movie. In his court docs, DDG said Hallie was actually the one putting her hands on him, and not just once. He claims she also made some serious threats when he tried to move on with his life. According to him, she's not emotionally steady right now, and he thinks that could be risky for their child. He's not just talking either. He dropped screenshots, voice notes, all kinds of receipts. And honestly, it's not looking too great for Hallie based on what he shared. It's messy, y'all. But let's be real, it's heartbreaking too. Because at the center of this is a child, a beautiful baby named Halo who didn't ask for any of this. Now, say what you want about DDG and Hallie, but one thing seems true. They both love that kid. You can see it. But love isn't always enough to hold two people together. Some couples just don't mix. And from the jump, these two, it's been drama on drama. DDG went even further in his court filing. He said Hallie would get super upset anytime he worked with other women, like jealous-level upset. According to him, she'd go off on him, both with words and, at times, with her hands. He also said she got hung up on his past relationships. One time he texted an ex, said it was friendly, but Hallie wasn't having it. Now, I get it though. Hallie had reasons not to trust him. Y'all remember that Ruby Rose situation? Yeah. DDG was allegedly texting his ex while still with Hallie. So if she was suspicious, that makes sense. Still, this should have been her sign to walk away, before a baby got involved, because despite people warning her, despite the red flags waving in the wind, Hallie kept going. And now, things have unraveled in the worst way. DDG even said that Hallie used her pregnancy to try and keep him close. They had already broken up by then and agreed to co-parent, but he claims she told him if he left, she'd make a major decision about the baby that he couldn't come back from. And this was all happening while her movie career was taking off. She had just dropped The Little Mermaid. A huge moment for her, but now she was carrying a baby and the pressure was real. Maybe she just wanted to make sure her family was solid before bringing a child into the spotlight. But let's be honest, this whole thing could have been avoided. These two were not built to last. And having a baby in the middle of chaos? That just made everything worse. And it didn't stop there. Now, here's where things take a turn that's honestly hard to watch. The battle over their baby, Halo, is heating up, and both Hallie and DDG want full custody. That's right, not shared. Full. And when I say the drama in these text messages is next level, it's intense. DDG shared some screenshots that painted a messy picture. Let's be clear though, it's not just one person being messy. Both of them were going back and forth playing the blame game, like full-on tit-for-tat mode. One minute they're fighting, next minute they're apologizing, then it explodes again. One exchange really stood out. DDG stopped answering Hallie's calls during one of their fights. She wasn't having it. The messages said things like, "Pick up the phone right now." And when he didn't respond, she wrote something really concerning, saying she had something sharp and was calling for help. Now, this wasn't during her pregnancy. This was in 2022, before baby Halo was even in the picture. So it wasn't about postpartum hormones or anything like that. This looked like a pattern of emotional distress, like a cry for help that didn't start yesterday. Hallie wrote things like, "I needed help, but you clearly don't care." And DDG replied saying, "You're trying to scare me into caring, and that's not okay." He called it manipulative and said he never expected her to go that far. But the part that really hit me? She wrote, "If I'm gone, don't act sad, don't show up. These are your last messages from me." That's heavy. It really sounds like someone who's hurting deep inside and just wants someone, anyone, to listen. Now here's the thing. DDG saw those red flags early. He knew Hallie was dealing with stuff emotionally. He said she'd shut down, accuse him of not caring, and then come back angry when he wouldn't respond. But here's my question. If he knew all that, why stay? He says she was manipulative. Okay, maybe, but he kept choosing to stick around. And not just that, he had a whole baby with her. So he wasn't just caught in the mess, he helped create it. Truth is, DDG seemed to like the spotlight that came with being with Hallie. She was blowing up in the industry, and that definitely came with perks. But if he truly felt unsafe or trapped, why stay? Why keep giving her mixed signals? Anyway, back to those texts. There's another one from 2023, again, before Hallie was pregnant. She told him she couldn't sleep, that her chest felt tight, that she just wanted peace and she hated everything about life at that moment. And DDG begged her to stop saying those things. But she kept pushing, saying, "You won't help me. You don't even care." Later on, when she was in her first trimester with Halo, things didn't improve. She was tired, in pain, and accused DDG of lying to his mom about her. When he said they needed a break, she snapped back with, "Just leave me to disappear." She called him selfish, said she'd been crying nonstop, that she couldn't take the emotional roller coaster anymore, and DDG responded by telling her she was sick. Not in a cruel way, just like someone who was overwhelmed and didn't know what else to say. At one point, Hallie even said, "If I'm gone, don't act like you care. Don't pretend. You made this happen." And DDG? He hit back saying she was pretending to be excited about being a mom, but kept talking about hurting herself or the baby. There's another message that's more recent, from after Halo was born. Hallie had clearly reached her breaking point. She told DDG not to talk to her again and to go through her sister if he needed anything. And just when you thought things couldn't get any more heartbreaking, it does. Hallie sent DDG a long string of texts that were honestly hard to read. She said things like, "I hate you, you're the worst person I've ever known," and that she didn't want to keep fighting. But he always let her down. She accused him of treating her like a joke, saying he was chasing attention online, giving love to every other woman except her, and then came the message that stopped me in my tracks. "I want to disappear because of you. I will disappear because of you, and it'll be your fault." That is not something you just brush off. It's the kind of pain that comes from someone who feels completely abandoned. She said she'd been begging him for help, that he knew she had no one else, and that she had been struggling badly. She claimed she had been going to doctors constantly just to keep herself stable, and DDG? According to her, he was too focused on fame and chasing that next viral moment. Meanwhile, she was crumbling behind closed doors. Then, it got even more personal. Hallie brought up a trip DDG took to Mexico. She said he was with another woman there, someone named Lala, while she was at home alone, raising their son and crying. She felt betrayed, humiliated, and broken. "You want to ruin me? You did," she wrote. "I'm done. Tell people I was crazy when I'm gone. I won't care anymore." DDG, confused and clearly overwhelmed, responded with, "You want to vanish because I tweeted that Sexy Red is a good rapper? What are we even talking about?" He was trying to make sense of it all, but from Hallie's side, this wasn't about one tweet or one trip. It was about feeling like she'd given everything to someone who treated her like an option. And the pressure? It was mounting fast. Hallie's reputation had already taken a hit just for having a child during the height of her career. Fans judged her, the media whispered, and meanwhile she felt like DDG was slowly slipping away, emotionally and physically. And when his family started turning cold too, she really started spiraling. Hallie didn't seem to have many people in her corner. Her sister Chloe once mentioned not having a close relationship with their parents, so maybe Hallie was dealing with that too. If DDG's family pulled back, and her own family wasn't around, it makes sense why she felt completely isolated. In another message, Hallie accused DDG of being with Lala in Mexico. Now, y'all know Lala, the influencer who DDG used to work with and had a lot of chemistry with. Hallie was sure something happened. She said, "You were with her while I was here raising your son. You gave her what I begged for." And then she said something no mom ever wants to say. "You can have him. Let her be his mom." DDG was shocked. He told her, "You're making this stuff up." But Hallie insisted she was done and begged him to take Halo away from her in that moment. Not forever, but because she didn't want her child to see her in that state. It's painful to even repeat. Later, Lala came out and denied the whole thing. She said the Mexico trip was a group vacation and that nothing happened between her and DDG. that they've always just been friends, that nothing was shady. But do people believe her? Hard to say. Even if Lala didn't want DDG, it doesn't mean he didn't want her. And Hallie, already fragile and anxious, probably felt like her worst fears were playing out in real time. And it's not just about Lala or some vacation. Hallie said she felt like she wasn't enough, that she never looked like the women DDG seemed drawn to, women who were lighter-skinned or racially ambiguous, the kind of beauty standard she believed he chased. Even though Hallie is drop-dead gorgeous, it's clear her insecurities were eating at her. She was drowning in comparison. And yeah, she took it too far. But imagine feeling unwanted by the father of your child while dealing with a fragile emotional state and postpartum waves. Then there's this final part that just hurts. Hallie was outside DDG's house, standing in the cold in her pajamas with baby Halo in her arms. She asked to come in. DDG said no. Why? Because there were weapons in the house and he was scared. Scared she might do something drastic. He said, "Please, just go home. It's not safe." She begged, "Take Halo. I don't want him to see me like this." But he still wouldn't open the door. And in one of the last texts, she wrote, "There is no later, only now, and you missed it." At this point, the texts between Hallie and DDG weren't just messy. They were devastating. Hallie said she stood outside his house in the cold with their son while DDG was out clubbing. She begged for him to take the baby, but when he didn't answer, she decided she was done. She said, "We're leaving. You missed your chance." And when DDG said, "As long as you don't hurt yourself, we'll figure it out later," Hallie dropped a bomb. Too late. I already started. She said he never cared, that he called her family, but they weren't going to help. She felt totally alone, and her message made it clear. She believed the love was never real, that he used her, lied to her. And now that she was breaking down, he had walked away completely. She sent another message that made it obvious she was spiraling. "I want to live. I want to be happy. I don't want to disappear, but I don't know what else to do." And then she asked again for him to take their son. "I'm not okay," she wrote, "and I don't want him around me when I'm like this." DDG responded, saying he was coming to get Halo, but when he showed up and told her to pack a bag, Hallie felt disrespected. "Like I'm some stray dog," she said. "You hurt me to my core." She went on to say, "I thought having your child would prove how loyal I was, but now my son's going to grow up in a broken home." And that's when the whole picture really started to come together. At the end of the day, Hallie didn't just want a baby. She wanted a family. She wanted a partner. She wanted the guy she loved to stay by her side and show up not just for their son, but for her. And when that didn't happen, it broke her. Now, let's not pretend DDG is innocent in all this. He did use her rising fame to boost his own image, and he did drag her name through the mud in his own way. But at the same time, he was also dealing with someone who, by his account, was emotionally unstable and using their child to try and keep him from leaving. He didn't want the relationship. He just wanted to co-parent. But for Hallie, that wasn't enough. Because to her, being left behind was more than sad. It was humiliating. The internet was already criticizing her for becoming a mom before marriage. Losing DDG in public? That felt like a second blow. And yes, she was clearly still madly in love with him. You could read it in every word she typed. But love, when it turns desperate, can be dangerous. Not just for the people involved, but for the kids caught in the middle. That's why this whole thing is so complicated. Because while it's easy to point fingers, the truth is, both of them are hurting. Both of them made mistakes, and both of them clearly care about their child, even if they don't always show it the right way. What Hallie's going through doesn't mean she's a bad mom. She just sounds overwhelmed, lost, and struggling to find steady ground. And DDG? He might be over the relationship, but he's still trying to show up for his son, even if he's not always doing it with grace.